Hi, I'm Katy Winn. I'm with Getty Images, and I'm a Fashion Week photographer for Mercedes-Benz in New York and Los Angeles. This is normally what I bring to any Fashion Week, and it's a lot of equipment, but I have a couple of different roles at Fashion Week with Getty. The first role that I have is that I will walk into the tents, and the main part of the tent I shoot in a photojournalistic style. I photograph the editors, the socialites, the fashion goers, and their interactions with one another. I also photograph interesting fashion that's worn by the fashion goers. This camera, I usually carry a Mark II 1DN, and this would be my camera. I have a 24-70 lens on it that I usually put the shade on so that I can eliminate any glare and such that's in the tents. I usually have the eyepiece taped up because quite often when you're scuffling around in the tents, you can lose the eyepiece, and that can be kind of expensive. I usually shoot with a 1 gig or a 2 gig card in the tents because it gives me enough memory, but not too much in case something happens to the card. I don't lose a ton of pictures. When I'm in the front of the tents, I also like to photograph with a flash, definitely with a flash. And I like to have a bracket and an off-shoe cord. So this is my choice bracket. It's a CB Mini RC, and it's non-obstructive. It's not an enormous bracket, and it doesn't get kind of fakakta. I don't know what the good term is for that, but you don't get a weird situation going on. I've often found with my strobo frames that they loosen up and the flash jostles around everywhere. This flash, it's very simple. I'll show you how I put it on. So I attach my bracket, make sure it's on good and tight, and my off-shoe cord ready to go. And then I pop on my flash, which sometimes takes me a little bit. Tighten that up really good, and I'm ready to roll. So this is my normal front of the tents shooting around photojournalistically, and oftentimes you just want to move the flash up and do a little bouncing. And I'll bounce the light off the tents because there's all kinds of beautiful light inside the front of the tents at Fashion Week. So you kind of want to work with that. You have blues and reds and golds, really nice complementary colors, good for skin tones and things like that. You don't really want to destroy the skin tones with a direct flash, so bouncing is actually quite fun and useful in this situation. Every so often I like to change it up because it can be a long day just shooting with one lens, and I like to get a little bit crazy. So this is my personal favorite. It's very simple. It's a 50-1.4, and this lens is great. It opens with the f-stop. It's wide open. You can get a lot of light in there. You can shoot with available light. You don't have to shoot with a flash, which is kind of fun. You have a more photojournalistic point of view, more of an element of surprise, because a lot of those people that you're photographing don't even know you're photographing them. So that's kind of fun. And of course you can move in really closely and get a nice portrait, or pull out and get great fashion. It's just a great shot with this lens. Good bokeh on this lens if you believe in bokeh. When I shoot parties, backstage area with the models, I usually jump into popping on my wide angle. And for me, the 17-40 works just as well for me as the 16-35. In fact, I just sold the 16-35. But the 17-40, though it does have a smaller f-stop of 4 or 5 or 4, it's fine for the lighting at Fashion Week. Backstage, you really want to open up and get a nice wide shot oftentimes of the action going on, the models, the makeup, the hair, the designer interacting with the models. You want to get the fashion, and oftentimes you're shooting available light. You really don't want to be using the flash backstage. You've got beautiful lighting back there. It's kind of usually bathed in a gold and pink color. So you're just fine shooting available light. You get a real beautiful moody looks. So this is what I normally use. I'll alternate. I have two cameras, so I alternate with this lens and also with my 24 to 70 2.8, just to make sure that I get a good exposure. You know, the pit is very, very tight, and once you get in there, you're going to be jostling around with a lot of photographers. There's a little bit of sniping back and forth at one another because you really just need a little bit of space to breathe, and it's kind of impossible for the 15-20 minutes that you're in the pit. And so usually you're just going to be using one camera and one camera only. You have to choose wisely. As I said, I trust my Mark II 1D and I love it. So I shoot only with Mark II, Canon Mark II 1DNs. This is my pit camera. And I shoot with a 70 to 200. On occasion, I will pop on my lens extender, and this is my 1.4. The 1.4 gives it a little bit more magnification. You always want to be shooting at least at 250 shutter speed, and of course open that f-stop wide open. So you're going to be going 2.8, at least 2.8, 3.5, 3.2. So that's the beauty of this. To keep myself stable, I always carry a monopod. You really need to have one of these when you're in the pit. It keeps your camera stable. It keeps you in one position for the full time that you're photographing. And this is really all that you need. The lens, the monopod, nice fast camera, and the extender. What I just got, and I'm really experimenting with now, is I got one of those 12 gig compact flash cards, because when you're in the pit, you really don't want to move around too much. You could find yourself in a really hairy position. You don't want to be changing that card in the middle of the shoot because you'll be missing, probably in my case, I'll miss the greatest piece of fashion walking down the runway if I have to change cards. So the 12 gig ensures that I'm going to have plenty of space for images throughout the show, so I don't have to move. And so I just stand still and photograph.